Small update for today. Just finished sanding everything smooth, so we are now ready to glass. I rolled out my 6-ounce cloth across the boat, got everything cut to size. We're going to run the cloth this way through the whole length of the boat, overlapping 2 inches at every seam, going from starting in the front and working back. Actually, I'm sorry, starting in the back and working front so that the seams overlap, flowing to the back. Then I also had some of this stuff here, which I picked up from Palmer Johnson when I bought a bunch of stuff up at them when their yacht business went out. And this is some heavy duty, I want to say it's 20 or 24 ounce cloth. I'm going to use that. I'll go up all the side seams here, down each one of the corners. I'm going to do this seam here, a piece here, and then probably 2 more pieces here to make this nice and strong, so when you're plowing in the stuff with it out duck hunting, you don't damage the wood. The fiberglass, the 6-ounce cloth with the resin will seal it up real nice, but it's not going to be as impact proof as if you put a nice heavy layer of cloth over the top of it like that. So we'll see how this stuff works. And this is some really thick stuff. I mean, that's about as tight as you can roll it. It just, you know, it flops right back, and this is going to be interesting to see how this stuff wets out. I'll probably start with the front corners first because they're an easy angle to work with, and it'll be a short piece. But those will go on after we get the main layer of cloth over the entire hull. So I'm going in for the night. Weather's supposed to be nice the next 4 days, so with the holiday weekend coming up, we should be able to get this thing glassed, hopefully shot with paint, and then flipped over on the trailer. When we get the glassing, I'll get some more video. Hello all, we are getting ready to start glassing tonight. So what we have is first sheet of glass laid out. I have marks where the edges are, and then I went along and put marks where the one sheet of glass is going to lay at, and where the overlap from the other sheet of glass is going to be. So bottom sheet's going to come to here, top sheet's going to overlap it here, so we have a 2-inch overlay. Do that all the way across to the front of the boat. We're going to use some of the Composite Envisions epoxy that I got. I believe this is a little bit thinner and waterier than the other stuff I was using. And we're going to have to trim the back of the boat here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut, we have this laying flat on the transom. We'll cut down here, then take this extra and fold it over this way. That way we can keep this seam perfectly in line with the rest of the boat. And then the overlap will wrap around this way, which the flow of the water will go this way. So even in the freak chance that there's a loose seam and it could peel away, it won't, because the flow of the water won't be digging into that seam as if it was folded in this direction. You'd have a little flow of the water hitting this way. It'll go around towards the back of the boat, so it'll be smoother. So I'm not going to go all the way down to the absolute top of the motor mount, because we'll get that reinforced wall with some heavy duty glass. As long as I'm up close to the top, I'm good for now. So I'm going to get this stuff cut. I'm going to roll the fiberglass back up then, or fold it up I should say. And we'll take this half and fold it up on top of this half. I'll wet out the back of the boat here, and then I'll lay that back down on that piece. Fold this piece over, because this side should stay put once it's got epoxy on it. Roll some epoxy out on this section, and then fold this back over, then wet it out on the outside. We will be mixing in these larger graduated mixing containers. I'm using the graduated ones now for 2 reasons. Number 1, we need a larger volume when we're doing this. And number 2, if you notice, the containers aren't the same size. So we've gone from a 1-to-1 epoxy to a 2-to-1 epoxy. So it's a little bit harder to measure by just sitting the containers next to each other and estimating. So we're going to use the measurement. Paint stick to mix it with, and a couple of cut-off brushes. The only thing I'm missing is I have to go get my small paint roller. That's the best way I've found to smooth out the epoxy when you're doing large surfaces. So that's all we got for now. Time to get to work. Well, We're all done for the night. Got the outer layer of glass on the hull. Tomorrow we will go back over it with a little more epoxy after we run the protection strips down the corners and the sides and the bottom meat of the hull. So that's where we are for tonight. Time to go eat. Hello all. We are done glassing the boat now. You can see I got the reinforcing strips on. We got this little fringy overhang here that I just cannot get to lay flat, so I'll just have to let that dry and sand it off real quick. I also have to do a little bit of sanding work on the corners because it was kind of hard bringing everything together there. But I don't think it turned out too bad. Real quick thing for you that I'm going to show you. When you are fiberglassing, sorry for that picture, I was bending down grabbing my brush. There are two different types of white you will run into in the glass. One is the unsaturated white, and the other is quite literally an oversaturated white. So if you see fiberglass that looks white like this, that is dry fiberglass. That needs to be wetted out. If you see white, so you can see this, see on it's seeing a little bit of white there, that is oversaturated glass. If you push down on it a lot of times, you notice there's a lot of resin coming up and the white starts going away. That's because the glass is floating on top of the resin. You prefer to get rid of all those spots like that. Some of these seams that I went over where the lightweight glass went across, I have a problem with that, so I think it's just going to end up being a little bit of a high spot. But you should try getting the majority of those out you can. And then just to make everything more complicated, the resin I used, the thickening agent, was white. So then you get white spots all over the place. As you can see where I filled in the two bolts, it's quite obvious there. But I also did some fairing across here, so now I got a little white stripe, which I kept thinking was white because it was over resined, but it wasn't. It was because there's a white thickened epoxy that was behind there that got sanded flush. So for the most part, I think she turned out fairly well. I put a layer of resin on top of the hull, on the bottom of the hull, top being upside down, to fill in all the weave. So we'll let this all dry, and we'll get the edges sanded smooth so we don't have that sharp lip on there. And then we'll shoot her with a coat of paint and throw her on the trailer. Next course of action, you notice I have bare wood bunks on the trailer. You need to go out and get some carpet and some stainless steel staples and recarpet the bunks. And we'll be ready to flip her over and put her on the trailer, and then it'll be time to start working on the actual duck blind side of the boat. So later.